Look, this ain't hype, this a holy flex. Try to count us out, no we come for next. We ain't loud for sure, this that quiet threat. We got the million, yeah, we been a set. The million is dope, they know now. We was low key, we glow now.
Hey fam, it's Pastor Nate, and this is the Million 5-Minute Bible Study, where we talk about real questions with real scripture, and we do it real quick. All right, y'all. Today I want to talk about something that can be a little bit dangerous if we don't understand it properly, okay? I need us to know the difference between what God allows and what God approves. All right, because if we're being truthful with ourselves, we can assume that if something happened, that if a door opened, if we got the result that we wanted, that God must have approved it, but that ain't always true. Sometimes God allows things that he never approved. We're on the clock. Let's get into it. Point number one, God can allow relationships that he doesn't approve of. Judges 14:3 says, Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, that thou goest to take a wife out of the uncircumcised Philistine? Samson wanted a Philistine woman, and that's just it. His parents tried to warn him. The signs were all there. The warnings were there. The red flags were there. Samson wanted what he wanted. He just like us. Now, here's the part that's scary. God didn't stop him. That relationship happened. Life kept moving. God continued to use Samson. The victories were still piling up. The strength was still showing up. And because everything still seemed to be working, Samson kept pushing the boundary. And then one day it all caught up with him. Now, ask yourself the question, how many times have I mistaken God's patience for his approval? Because just because he allowed a thing doesn't mean that he approved it. Point two, he's going to allow your impatience. Genesis 16 tells the story of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. God promised Abraham and Sarah a son. The problem was not the promise. The problem to them was the timing. And Abraham and Sarah got tired of waiting. So they came up with a plan. Now Hagar enters the story. Now Ishmael is born. And here's the part that jacks me up for real. God never told them, go ahead and do this. God promised Isaac. Abraham produced Ishmael. God allowed it. But he never said he approved it. And now here we are, generations later, still dealing with the consequences. Look how strong that is. They weren't trying to rebel against God. They were trying to help him. We're trying to speed up what only God can do. We're trying to force what he told us to trust him with. And sometimes impatience has a way of producing things that God never asked for, which brings us to point three. God will allow what you insist on. 1 Samuel 8, children of Israel come to Samuel, we want a king. Samuel gets heartbroken about this. God tells Samuel, they have not rejected you. They have rejected me. Then God does something absolutely incredible. He tells Samuel, give them what they asked for. Think about that. The king wasn't proof of approval. The king was proof of allowance. Israel wanted to be like everybody else. Sound familiar? They wanted what the other nations had, and God allowed it. Saul became king. The kingdom functioned. Life moved forward. Everything appeared successful, but underneath the surface, there was compromise, disobedience, insecurity, jealousy, and eventually the consequences started showing up, because what God allows and what God approves are not always the same thing. And honestly, that's the scariest part. The scariest thing is not when God says no, it's when he says, okay. Because you're responsible for living with the thing that you insisted on. Matthew 7:22-23 says, many will say in that day, Lord, Lord, have not we prophesied in thy name, cast out devils in thy name, done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Look at what they're pointing to. They're trying to point to results, activity, but Jesus points to relationship. That's the lesson here. Results are not always proof of approval. An open door isn't always proof of approval. Success is not always proof of approval. The question is not, did it work? Question is, Did God approve it? This week's challenge. This week, come on, man, we asking ourselves, God, am I seeking your approval? Or am I merely enjoying what you have allowed? Have I mistaken results for obedience? Have I confused an open door with your direction? Have I assumed that because it worked, you approved it? Because just because you allowed this thing doesn't mean that you approve this thing. All right, fam. That was Dominion 5-Minute Bible Study. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and as always, please keep dominating on purpose every day. Dominion is dope. So are you. I love y'all, fam. And I'm going to catch you next week. Already.
Dominion is dope. They know now. We was low key. We glow now. Anointed the way. It flow now. Favor too loud. Can't tone down. Dominion is dope. They heard it. This ain't for lights, it's purpose. We came from dirt, made worship. And we don't fold, we surface. Dominion is dope, they heard it.